Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Tuesday. I am Rich Tesla. This is the Two Guys Tech Homelab Hour. I was watching the chat, which popped off later than normal, and Aragorn Strider and Game Over Day were talking about the price of storage and servers. And I want to talk a little bit, just tangentially, when we get into that. But hey, everybody, it is Tuesday, and this is the Homelab Hour. The whole idea behind this is to hang out, look at my silly Santa hat, which is only, here for a limited time only, right? The Christmas spirit is here. Anyway, this is a place to hang out with people who like talking about home labs, who we also talk about the stuff I make on the channel. These are all the things that I say every single episode that you guys who are regular watchers are very familiar with. So I apologize for you having to hear it ad nauseum. Anyway, this week I've got my producer, Brandon. He's behind the scenes. So if this stream goes well, it's because of Brandon. And if it goes poorly, well, it's because of me. Anyway. First, I just want to say, just because this just kind of hit me, and this is totally off the cuff, but the Pacific Northwest has been getting a ton of water, and we've got people all over the area, right, that are affected. I mean, it's crazy, but just want to say, sending positive thoughts out for everybody who's in Washington has been through the floods that are coming through because of our atmospheric rivers. And I just saw in the news here shortly before I got on the show that there's another one coming. They just finished the last one. And now, if you like water, come to the Pacific Northwest. And what I mean by water, I mean by gray skies and continuous rain. That's what I mean. Anyway, sad stuff out of the way. Anyway, just thinking about those people because it hits close to home. Anytime that stuff hits close to home, I just want to say I'm thinking about you guys. Let's move on. I like to start this show with a little bit of a personal story. And this time, you like that alliteration? A little bit of a personal story? I should have been a rapper. Rich the rapper with his Santa hat. I like to start the show with the personal story. And this one's actually technology related, so it's more of like an actual main topic than a side story. But last week, I don't know if you guys remember, but I was talking about how I was struggling with getting some enterprise SSD drives that I have formatted in 512 bytes because they were in 520, and not being able to do that because, well, in Dell, this is going to be another Dell rant. Excuse me for that. There's a point to this. Just hear me out. That that in that case, Dell wouldn't let me reformat those drives because it wouldn't show those drives because it didn't support this particular RAID card didn't support the 520 byte format. Got that fixed, right? It sucked. It really sucked, but I got it fixed, and that's neither here nor there. This week, this saga continues, but in a different way. So the background is I am building a platform to do some co-location stuff because the price of RAM in storage is crazy. I'm trying to come up with ideas and concepts how you could create shared home lab tenants for people, right? Then you can help host their stuff so they can get the joys and the sorrows of figuring out Kubernetes on their own. Right, Dave? Right? Anyway, so I started trying to get this R440 system up and running. And Brent, you want to throw the browser on the screen there? The R440 is a really nice platform. It is a Gen 1, Gen 2 scalable system. It's not an old man by any accounts. I mean, it's 5 years old, right? 5 or 6, just depending when you bought the platform. But it's not old, not in my opinion. I look at the E5 2680 V4s or the 2600 V4 CPUs as old now because I've been lucky enough to move off of them to largely scalables or epics. That being said, this guy has been the test bed for this, the playground. And after going through the nightmare getting the disks reformatted, and I started playing around with it. I didn't want to install the OS on the physical storage, the SSDs. I wanted to have a dedicated storage system inside of it. So the first thing that most people think of when they're like, oh, I'm going to spin up a server and it's going to have dedicated storage, maybe ZFS, maybe whatever the file format is for your virtual machine workloads or your containers or whatever you're going to do. And also maybe a dedicated disk for the OS, right? Maybe some redundancy in that in case one of them dies. That way the whole OS doesn't die and you're not stuck with having to rebuild it. So I do what normal people do. I dig in my drawer, which I don't have here handy and grab a NVMe carrier PCI Express board, right? Little small, they're 8x in size, and they are 4x in size. Excuse me, they're 4x in size, and you put an NVMe disk in there, you plop it in a PCI Express slot, and under normal circumstances, you target that for installation. Bob's your uncle, off you're running. So that's what I do. I go about that process. Shove the drive in there, boot the system off the USB stick, start to install. In this case, Proxmox is a test bed I was working on. See the NVMe disk. It's there. I target it. I install. I'm excited. This is good to go. Fire it up. And then I come to find out that Dell, at least on the R440 platform, doesn't support native booting from BIOS. That includes EFI, mind you, of an NVMe drive. Cool. You can see it. You pass it to the operating system below after you boot, but you can't boot off of it yourself. What is a man to do? What is a person to do? Well, I go online and I try to figure out what to do here. And I come across the answer, which is Dell has a solution. It's called a BOSS card, BOSS, which stands for boot something on whatever. Long story short, it looks like a regular NVMe 8X PCIe carrier board, right? Put a couple disks in there and away you go. That's what Rich did. He bought that. He put a couple disks in it, NVMe disks. He didn't read anything. Why would he read anything? Shove it in the computer, boot it up. BOSS card shows up. Interestingly enough, if I can show you this just for funsies, the BOSS card has ASICs on it. It's got chips. Come to find out, the BOSS card is a RAID card. It's a mirror RAID card. Cool. Also come to find out, when I booted the system, I didn't see my NVMEs at all, and neither did the underlying operating system. Boot optimized storage system. Thank you, Aragorn Strider, for the win. I knew it was somewhere around there. And Dave, no, it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't support bifurcation. It's that it's a SATA interface. It is a M.2 NGFF SATA interface. Those nifty little port. I'm pointing at it over here like you're seeing me pointing at it, but those interfaces are for SATA drives and SATA drives only. Neat. I don't have any SATA NGFF M.2 drives. Cookie of Chaos asks, has my Homelab ever caught on fire? Not yet, but it might after this. So may I continue? No, Dave, they're not MSATA. They're just like, maybe it's an MSATA. No, I think they're just called NGFF M.2 SATA. B and M key are the things. Anyway, back to this. So what do I do? I go and after swearing, because I bought this, waited for this, it showed up, got all excited, put it all together, realized that, boy, if I would only learn how to read, reading maybe not be one of my strong suits, I guess, in this case. So I jump over to our friends at Amazon, and trying to find just B and M key SATA drives these days in an M.2 format is swearing is key. Yes, I agree. Is really hard. You can't, there's not a lot of these. If you search for M.2 SATA, you're going to get only a few. Look, we can look here and see. I want to come back to this, but just M.2 SATA SSD. And there's one, 36, 256, that's not bad. 104 for, I mean, this is way more. I just wanted a boot drive. Like, which one is this? This is 1 terabyte. I don't want 2 1 terabyte drives for my boot OS for if it ends up being like, microcloud or something like that. That's a waste of space. I don't want that. So I'm digging through. I'm trying to find the cheapest price. Just looking for the cheapest price. Looking to find whatever I can. And I eventually, as I'm scrolling through, I find this one here. Right? This is what I was just on. 128 gigs. So I buy 2 of these. Incidentally, Brandon, can you bring up, there's a picture. It's one next to me that says SSD. So incidentally, I bought these on the 12th of December. It was delivered on the 13th because I'm lucky enough to have Amazon nearby. if you look closely at the price they're showing, they were sold to me by Amazon for $25.50. And Brandon, if you want to switch back to the display we had here, I'm going to make a lot of clicking today. They're now going for $33.61. Storage, friends, storage. And Aragorn Strider was just talking about it too. What did Levick say? Levick said he's got two. Well, now you say it. I guess I should ask the Discord. You should ask the Discord. But I bought him, right? I bought him for $51, right? $25 and one and a half. So I get them back. I put it all together. And if you look at this card, I wish I could, let's enhance. So if you look at this card and you look at, there's basically two mounting spots, right? And this looks like a 2280, 22 millimeters wide, 80 millimeters long. That's what those numbers mean on those NVMEs. But I bought this teeny little guy, teeny weeny little dude. Let's see what the size does it say what it is on here. Enhance, scroll. Whatever. There's a whole bunch of marketing. It doesn't say what its length is here. Where is the length? There's the weight. It is 42. So it's a 2242 versus the 2280 that you have in a typical. And I get this thing here and I'm like, oh, the Boss card doesn't have smaller interface mounts because there's a bunch of PC or ICs and components back here. There's a whole bunch of crap behind it. So there's no pass-through ports for you to mount anything to it. But I'm a Homelabber, and I find ways around it. Now, as I mentioned this to the guys in the Discord, which by the way, Discord is totally free and available to everybody. It's a big community around Homelabbing, so consider joining it. Just like that plug. I mentioned it in the Homelab, and people are like, well, you have a 3D printer. Why don't you 3D print something? I'm like, yeah. The truth is, I thought about it, but I was also printing something else on my 3D printer at the time, and my impatient ADHD brain was like, no, you need this now. You've been waiting so long. Like 4 days is a long wait, that kind of thing. And so I came up with my Kapton solution. Brandon, you want to show that picture there? This is what I ended up doing. Now, listen, I know there's a lot of people who are thinking this is a terrible idea, and you're not wrong. This is probably a very bad idea. I mounted the discs, and then I used Kapton tape. And I did want to talk about that because there's some confusion about Kapton. And it's like one of these things that I guess if you don't work with electronics, in my previous job, I worked a lot with electronics, like the actual PCBs and stuff like that, that you might not know what Kapton is, but Kapton tape is a high temperature, chemically resistant, I'm using finger that you can't see, and it's a exactly. I love the support in the comments. Yeah, Sean Woods, we need to talk about that mounting job. So, yeah, here's the thing. There's a couple layers there, which is a little hard to see. So back to Kapton. Kapton is I think that's the brand name, but there's generics of it. That tape is called, I wrote it down because it's got an actual polyamide tape. And polyamide tape, brand name Kapton, Kapton, is high temperature tape. It's chemically resistant. It is electrically inert, so it's not capable of static discharge, or it's kind of a plastic. And I used to use it a long time ago for 3D printers. My old 3D printers that I had would be glass beds, and I would put a giant sheet of Kapton on top of it because Kapton doesn't warp. It doesn't get screwed up. And when you print on it, it will say something like ABS. It sticks, and it sticks good. And it has a really nice surface. And it's destructible. So if it tears, you just tear off the Kapton because it's a big old sticker and put a new piece on. So there were some comments in the Discord which I'd like to address, and that is what happens when that tape comes free and they pop down and touch the motherboard. I'm sure bad things will happen. I fully intend or expect to come up with a better solution in the future. Some way to resolve this in a way that doesn't leave a little bit of a risk there just sitting in there waiting to go. But I did want to say, pop back over to the webpage, Brandon, please. Every good home labber should have a couple rolls of Kapton or polyamide. It's super cheap, and yeah, it's not hot glue. So yeah, I guess like Jason Budney said, he knows what Kapton is. He watches board repair videos all the time. Yeah, Kapton is just like this secret, not even a secret. Like, you guys have seen it. You've probably had pieces of electronic components in your hand with little like yellow goldish looking tape. It looks like that. They call it brown, but that's not. When you pull it out, it's like a yellow gold color. You've seen this. It's cheap. It's dirt cheap, and it's not poisonous. So get yourself some of that, and it works. It works great. It's cheap. So I mean, you guys obviously look at this. See, Game Over Dave's got some. Aragon Star uses climbing tape. Isn't climbing tape really sticky though? Like, isn't it like the hospital bandage stuff? Yes. Yeah. So anyway, this is my recommendation for you all today. Friends, neighbors, random people who have joined the live stream. Don't leave home without a roll of Kapton tape, because it may end up saving your genuine boss raid card. So long story short, I got the thing built. It was up and running. I can kind of show you this is for some of you who may not have seen. There's a rant coming here, so just bear with me. But for you who may not have seen what a Dell iDRAC, that's the name for their DRAC. DRAC used to stand for Dell Remote Access Card. And I don't want to put an I on there for like integrated or intelligent or whatever I means in this case. But DRACs have been around forever. You know, if you have an HPE, you have an ILO, integrated lights out. So maybe I means integrated in this case, even though DRACs have always been integrated. I digress. You know, if you're a Supermicro user, you've got an IPMI, which is kind of the generic standard term for a lights out board. So this is the iDRAC 9 interface, and it's nice. It really is nice. Like, you compare it to, the one thing Dell has spent a lot of time on with their remote access card is just the pretty looks of it. You compare this to a Supermicro, and you're just like, oh, you guys just really just did the bare minimum. Yeah, by the way, hit that like button, as Sean said in the chat. Anyway, so I did want to show you the storage configuration on this. And the nice thing about the DRACs, or like basically any integrated lights out, is that you get a lot of detail. So I can show you the controllers here, and there's this little Boss S1 that shows up as an HCI controller in slot number 2, which is the only effectively useful available slot in an R440 because it's a 1U, and there's a little 90-degree daughter card to make that available. And you know, it's pretty basic. 6 gigabit because it's SATA, which makes you wonder why they consumed an entire 8X slot in a PCI Express. That seems a little overkill, right? 6 gigabit for 8X. If you give a 1X slot is enough to satisfy that, I think. But you know, it's there. And the funny thing is, we can look at the physical disks here, and these are the SSDs. Let's see if it even shows your manufacturer name on it. Probably doesn't. Come on now, come on. Yeah, that's product ID. I don't know if that aligns with the Transcend model. That it doesn't say, but yeah, it's these drives. The TSC there is, or TS is Transcend, but they work and they're there, and it's in a mirror. The funny thing is, because the system is built and it's using ZFS to build a quote unquote software RAID, there's only one, you know, virtual disk, and that's just this mirror of these RAID 1 SSDs, SATA SSDs. It does. BK mentioned it has an OCP 2.0 slot, which is currently filled with a 2 by 25 gig SFP28 card. So, but anyway, so all joking aside, all funny aside, like, it's just one of these reminders how much I take, and we all kind of take, like, just standard hardware for granted. I've heard a lot of people say with Supermicro that, you know, the hardware is great, but getting service and support from Supermicro, just like if you outright buy the storage or the hardware, the iron, as we like to call it in the industry, is a nightmare. Supermicro as a direct vendor, I guess, is terrible to deal with for support for customers. So you wouldn't, a normal human being like you or I would likely not go to Supermicro to buy a piece of hardware, because you're probably going to have a bad time. I'm not telling you this as somebody who's personally experienced it, so take it for a grain of salt. I'm telling you from people who have sold and bought Supermicro stuff directly from Supermicro. That's why companies like all the companies that use ODM are basically buying specific blessed chassis from Supermicro, and then they rebrand them on their own. Like Supermicro, they sell the Nutanix. All the NX, all of their servers are rebranded, blessed, supported Supermicro hardware, and they support it. Supermicro doesn't support it. You don't buy it from Supermicro, you buy it from Nutanix. And there's other companies that they'll use them for OEM and ODM stuff. The thing I have to say about all of that with the Supermicro hardware is that while as a business, you might not want to directly go work with them because their support and after sales support sucks, but the hardware is just so standard. I've been able to boot off a direct NVMe disk in a PCI slot on a Supermicro since like the Gen 2, Gen 3 E5 2600, the V2, V3 CPUs, the Xeon CPUs. It's just been there. It's like, it's a drive, there it is, boot off of it. And it works because they've been around that long, as long as it's a UEFI. Who will pop that disgusting bubble? Oh, am I missing something here? I've been missing it. But you get, and you look at Dell, and Dell's hardware is just so nice. It's so well built. It's got this really fantastic interface for your lights out. It's just, as an enterprise business, you go, yes, look at that Dell stuff. That's great. And I know if I have a problem, I can call them and they're gonna help you. But in the secondary market, when you start to get into people like us in the Homelab who are using Dell stuff, then you're just like, why? Why wouldn't you let me do it? Why is the only bootable system available for this chassis a Boss card? Right? Why is that? In case you're wondering, just an aside, go here. They do have something called the Boss N1, I think it is. But it is not it's not like an insertable standard card. Yes, there's a PCI Express slot there. So they have these like NVMe, Gen 3 NVMe Boss cards, but like that doesn't fit in the system that I've got. It's this is it's very specific, proprietary for whatever chassis it belongs to. So the Boss, is there an N2? Let's see. I don't think so. Nope. There's a book about Pablo Escobar. I thank you, eBay. Anyway, so like the S in this case stands for SATA, and there it is. So, and yes, I could have bought one of these that had storage on there, but I was like, I don't trust that storage. I want to put my own storage. I have NVMe's. Long story short, just know that if you're in the Homelab space, yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, Cookie of Chaos. You RAID SSD, you've got backups. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, long story short, if you hear me extol my love and appreciation for Supermicro, it's just because it's just regular hardware. It's just standard gear, what you'd expect, except it's got more PCI Express lanes and consumes a lot more power and produces a lot more heat. Anyway, that's long story short. So, and make sure in the chat, why don't you just throw some, what are you guys using at home? I know there's a lot of people in the chat who are moving to mini PCs. I've got a lot of others that have you checked out our Discord? Anyway, let's move on because I just spent a ton of time talking about that. I want to talk about this. What is this, friends? This is Proxmox Data Center Manager 1.0. I know I promised you guys a Veeam video for Veeam version 13 because it's the new hotness and it's coming. I promise it's coming. Yeah. Game over days, NVMe all the way for mini PCs. NVMe for everything. NVMe for everything, right? That's the way it is. Did you catch the fact that those SATA SSDs went up $8.50 in 3 days? Their SATA SSDs, they went up at $8.50 in 3 days for 128 gigabyte card. That is absurd, friends. Hold on to your butts. There you go. Aragorn says he's absolutely. That's the smart path. I think that as long as you're able to support those Supermicros, which again, standard hardware. But let's move on. So this is Proxmox Data Center Manager 1.01. 1.0. PDM came out on the 4th of December. Yes, I've been a little slow. Yes, it's been busy. I guess I'm doing the best I can. But everyone is taking profits, that's for sure. 1.0 is the stable release of Proxmox Data Center Manager, which means it's fully supported by Proxmox Server Solutions. It's also free as long as you have an enterprise license. So it's also free if you install it and just don't expect any support. Same way that Proxmox itself, PVE is, or PBS is, right? You just get nagged to death. Speaking of nags, the no valid subscription thing is quite, you will do this a lot every time I click on something. But, you know, in the spirit of the video that's coming out, I did want to kind of walk through everything that's the new hotness in PDM, because there's a lot of great stuff in here. So let's dig in and kind of really get into it. Because if you are running Proxmox in any capacity, whether you have a PBS server and a PVE server, or you have multiple PVE servers, spin up a container, throw this in there, give it 2 gigs of RAM, give it a 15 or 10 gigabyte hard drive, storage disk, and just go to town, because it's great. It really is. We'll talk about it. So first things first, they've now, in the official PDM, supports a bunch of stuff here, but we'll go through the main things. We now have custom dashboards. So I've said many times in the past that I am on record kind of crapping all over the standard PVE, Proxmox virtual environment user interface, because I don't like it. I don't. If I clone this thing here, if I go here and duplicate, and I could just click that, just as a comparison, because sharing is caring, and you don't necessarily know what I'm talking about here. Let's look at a PVE environment. Okay, so here's my Proxmox server. Let's look at summary server and it's okay, but the first thing that jumps out at me every time I look at Proxmox is that it's just so goddamn crowded. You've got your views over here, which the views are not really folder views, not really folders. They've improved it some, but it's okay. It's all right. You can't create subfolders, which is silly, but realistically, it is just so. You got basically window pane after window pane after window pane, and it's just it looks its age in a way. It doesn't look nice and hot and sexy. And you go to PDM and you're like, ooh, let's drill down here and see what this looks like. Oh, look at these more modern graphs and this really nice, like, it feels good. I think it looks good. I am super happy. And so PDM is already, the main dashboard has already got these are all kind of customizable out the gate, but in the beginning, there's only one dashboard. Now you can create these custom views. And when you create a new view, let's call this view live show. Then we can start adding components to it. So we go to the live show here. That's not what I do. I'm sorry. I want to go to the live show. And now we can add things. Well, if I click the right button, click the wrong button. Let's add a row. We want to add a widget to this row. We can add remotes. Remotes, by the way, for the people who are wondering, that's what they call your hosts, your physical hosts that you've added to it. We can add node panels. Let's add a PBS node, and then we can hit save here, and this stuff will, unless I'm crazy, because it works normally. Because it fills in. So you can build these really neat, specific, customizable dashboards. How about we look at, let's do it like this. Let's go ahead and we're going to build a PBS dashboard, right? So we've got all of our nodes. Let's add some more here. Oops. Add some widgets. All right, let's make a new row. I like new rows. Let's see. Subscriptions, I don't think so. Leaderboards, guests with high CPUs, nodes with high CPUs, nodes high memory, task summaries. Let's go by category here. And when that fills in, we'll keep moving on here. Can we get some PBS nodes? I want to add specifically the, so resource tree. So we can create custom on this. We can build customized as well. And we click save here, and let's refresh the page. And so we get all these, we can build custom dashboards now, and that is legit. And I'm super happy about that, right? That's great, because then you can actually make something that you want. But let's move on. So custom dashboards, that's a good win. That's a win. That's something that beats the hell out of this, right? Instead of like, I know I can go look at my data center, my nodes, the summary things. I can I get these top level deals. And this one isn't as bad, but like this is way cleaner, way cleaner. Moving on. So they've really amped up their support for Proxmox backup server, which is good. It's not complete, and I'm going to complain about some stuff here in a minute, but out the gate, your PBS servers, you get to see what your data stores are. You can click on them. You can see the utilization. There's a big cap here because I turn my backup server off at night when it's not being used, because I have a very large power bill that I'm ashamed of. And that's why that's the way it is. But, it shows you disk IO and my mouse. And you go to content and you can see the status and the amount of, like, this is a container. Like container number 100 has a bunch of snaps. And these right here are expired, and they'll get purged out when my purge runs. And you can see their state, they're verified, they're valid. It's nice. It's a nice thing. It shows there's a lot other information that let's dig into the things that they don't do well for PBS. Yes, Aragorn, I need solar. Even with the, that's a whole other story. I need to fix my power. My power is a problem. It's a problem. Okay. Now I'm getting shit from Linux. I'm in dark mode because I've received enough comments on YouTube about being in light mode that unless it doesn't support a dark mode, which certain, like, you might not believe this, but Tom's Hardware doesn't support a dark mode no matter how much I try. Anyway. Yeah, Jason says he turns his main server off at night, backup strong once a week for replication. That's a... Dave, my neighbor does have solar, so I could just like maybe climb up a ladder and hook in, right? Just tap it straight off the source. Anyway, so back to PBS. So this is great. I'm happy this is here. For all systems, they've added a remote shell, so you can click that button and now you get to remote shell. However, you still have to log into it, which is not, it'd be nice if it just automatically logged you in like it does with the native user experience, but yeah, whatever. So that's a nice add they've had, but yes, leave please. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Let's get my mouse moved over here further so it doesn't wonk out. But it also, in PBS, they claim that it shows you the tasks and events that have occurred on your PBS server. With regular Proxmox, there's actually a, if you click on data center here, you get this remote task. You get this really nice view of the tasks that have executed. PBS, that doesn't exist anywhere, but they claim it still collects those tasks. So if you go to remotes and then you go to tasks and then you're like, oh, this is all of my tasks, and I can filter and I can say, give me my PBS server and filter. And then you get your backup and pruning, that kind of stuff. But there's nuances like this. Like, well, if you were going to bring all this natively in, like, wouldn't you have wanted to just create your tab right here just to knock it out? But minor gripes, I'm gonna say. Another huge add or change to this under remotes as a whole. So the remotes themselves have had since 0.9 a update section where you can do your updates. I have some pending updates on this host, sue me. And you can click the upgrade button and it will kick off. You can hit refresh and it will call out to the server, the actual remote, and it will do its apt update, right? All that kind of stuff. But in that last video I made, I asked for a centralized update, at least an update section, and we kind of got it. It's nice. It's really neat that they did it, but they basically have just taken what is essentially the collection of your remotes and put them in this singular sub tab, and you can click on it and you can see this. Oh, there's no subscription for this one. Oh, surprise! There's a subscription for this one, but it's not on. you know, and so then you can refresh all, but you still individually execute. And so I don't want people to think that this is a nice thing. This is really nice that they've built in the updates section into PDM, but it's incomplete. It still misses the mark in terms of being feature complete. Any of you in this chat who have spent all of their time in an enterprise management console for any, whether it's VMware, Nutanix, Verge.io, any of those, right? Their update system is like holistic. It's mostly automated, right? You can configure things like baseline images and automate the application and stuff. This is still very much manual. This is still very much, actually most of PDM is still very much just providing you a different way to look at data that exists from here. And that's okay, because it's still at least a singular official management console. I'm not shitting all over it yet. I'm just saying there's still lots of room to improve. But this is nice, like to be able to hit refresh and all, and you're going to get tons of these warning messages that you get used to seeing too many remotes without. Yeah, but then it still runs. So that's the good and the bad about the updates that's built in. I already mentioned the remote shell functionality, which is nice, that every one of your hypervisors or remotes, whether it's PBS or PDM, there's now a shell and you can pop that shell. And that's nice. Also notice how here it loads it inside of this content panel, but in PBS, if you hit it, it pops out a shell. Looks like another little idiosyncrasy that's missing there in terms of, I like consistency. Yes, I'm being pedantic. Give me my glasses, I'll push them up on my nose, but I do like to see consistency. And they've done a lot. So if we go, for example, we'll grab this workload here. A new add is like, if you look at your PVE workloads, you can get in and get good detail config stuff. This wasn't here in earlier versions where you can see all this really nice information. You can't edit anything, but you can see it, and that's nice, right? That's my biggest gripe. Speaking of biggest gripes, even though I can see this and I get really nice metrics and statistics, let's pick a busier, not a more busier. What do we got? Pterodactyl? That's pretty low too. I'm sure I know one. Let's look at Nextcloud. No, it's even quieter. Nonetheless, like you can see metrics about memory usage, CPU usage, network traffic, and I/O, and that's great. That's awesome. And you can look at the configs and see really good deep detail about everything that's there. And the containers is also, containers actually provide you a little additional information, like the virtual network that's attached to it and all that kind of stuff. And it looks good. I like it. And I can stop, start, and I can migrate those workloads from PDM between different systems, but there's no console. I have to go and click this, and then it sends me over there, and then I still have to manually go here to start the console. And I sure hope, beyond hope, that that's something that they're working on, because this is very much missing. Like, if you can show me your configs, you should be able to show me the console too. And there's also one other thing is that they've really doubled down on the SDN and EVPN functionality, which unfortunately doesn't really apply to me. The top level SDN shows me all of my software defined networks. These are the same because the hosts are existing on the same network, so of course they're identical. And I don't have any EVPN IPVRFs or MAC VRFs set up, so I have nothing to really show you there. But they've done a lot around like the communication of those statuses and deployments lists, which is good. I want to say one last thing that still bugs me, because I think it's a kind of a not a big deal, but it's a deal that's worth pointing out for anyone who's using this. In PDM, from the early days, you could migrate a VM from one PVE server to another, and they didn't have to be in the same console, or excuse me, same cluster. They could just, as long as those two servers could talk to each other, they could transfer it under certain circumstances. So what do I mean, certain circumstances? Well, this host that you're looking at here, my Proxinator, is ZFS storage. It's backed by local ZFS storage in the host, right? And so it sits on just pop over here to the Game Over Dave. See you. Thanks for joining us. if we look at this host specifically, we go to storage, I've got this guy here. This is the primary storage. And that's where these VMs exist. In PDM, if I wanted to say migrate this box, and I pop this up and say, what's the target remote? Well, I'll send it to the other PVE server, okay? And then, well, where do I want to store it? Well, let's put it on a different network. DMZ is fine. Target storage. This shows me the storage is on the other PD or PVE server. Now, I built a ZFS pool on there because I have native drives. That's what I want to do. But if you don't have ZFS storage on the target host and you are coming from ZFS on the source host, like if I want to put it on the local LVM here, and assuming that this isn't a massive system that's going to consume this, and I hit migrate, so I'm sending it from ZFS on the Proxmox, the primary host, to this PVE host that's, and I'll target the LVM volume. It says running, and it fails. It fails because it's using ZFS replication to move that data, which means, in effect, if you're not using ZFS, you really can't migrate VMs between one host and another, which sucks. Also, as a kind of a sucky point, I'm not happy with the fact that they're not doing pre-checks. If this was an enterprise data center manager like vCenter, or if it was, I mean, I'm not using vCenter because it's the best. It's just the one I can talk about easiest here. In this case, they do pre-checks. If your VM is a different architecture, let's say you chose a, let's pick this guy here. Let's see what its config is. In here, this is, what is this? So this is a x86-64v2 AES. This is a generic Intel or generic processor that works on both Intel and AMD. But this guy down here, it is set as an EPYC because that's what's in this box. I cannot migrate this VM to the other box because it doesn't have an AMD CPU, an EPYC CPU in it. Yes, everybody here in this chat is like, of course, that's the way it works. You can't take a VM that's configured to expect specific CPU features and migrate it to another system that doesn't. You had your minimum baseline stuff. But there's no check for it. If I hit migrate, it's going to try. It's just going to do it. It doesn't go, hey, no, these things don't match. It's going to be like, yeet. That's a term that the kids use, the yeet, the whatever. Anyway, so it forces you to go back and make sure that all your systems are set to, more compatible things. I still think it's really awesome that I can, we can go to this one here, this PV. I've got a Casa OS test box. You guys know what Casa OS is. I can migrate this to Proxmox. I'm going to put it in a ZFS pool on my server network, and I'm going to say migrate, and we can watch it, and it will start transferring. And it does it at a good clip. It's not too bad. And at the end, it'll sync up and it'll be done, and then I'll be over there running. And that's great. It works as long as you are like to like. It's not a problem. It's just a caveat, and it's one of those things that you just kind of have to be aware of. So that's something I want fixed. That being said, this is still an incredible thing that they're putting together. And if you're not running PDM, Proxmox Data Center Manager, and you're a Proxmox user, I mean, get on it. This is your thing. That's BK asked, I wonder if it's the same is true for Ceph. I need to build a Ceph system to see how that works too, because everything I tried, if you have a different format on the other side, it just fails outright. So not so bueno. There. Is it synchronizing across? Oh, it's moving the rest of the data there. So, but point being, it works, and under certain circumstances, and that's awesome. Yeah, there it goes. I wanted to see, the big question here is sending a resume command. So yeah, it suspended it and on one side, and it resumed it in the other. So if we pop over, we'll let this thing finish. Got reply and seen, task okay. So if we pop over here, there's the Casa OS. Doesn't say it. Let's pop over to the actual system here and see. Casa OS console. It's working. I can log into it, I think. Except it just core dumped. So it did it? Did you actually? No, it's still working. Okay. That was a huge dump of. I thought for a second there we had a kernel panic. So that looked a lot like a kernel panic. Let's try again. Come on, big guy. Did you kernel panic? Did you? Hello? Looks like the live migration doesn't work so hot. Take that with a grain of salt, friends. Not that I would necessarily recommend. This is early stuff. If you're migrating workloads between PVE systems, you might want to shut it down first. I've migrated this back and forth when it's in an off state and it works fine. So yeah, that looks very much like a kernel panic to me. Modules linked in, yeah, bum. We can just, oh, it did. It finally came up. Interesting. And it kernel panicked again. Yeah, something's not healthy about that. It did not like having its brains pulled out and then put back in. So, yeah, if we, there we go. They come out fine afterwards. Anyway, back to PDM. So I kind of went through the good and the bad here. There's a lot going on here that I think that there's a lot to love. There's a lot that they have yet to get done, and it's free. So what are you waiting for? Free is in beer, and that's a good thing, right? Last thing before we kind of a few things I want to say. I may have gone. Okay, Aragorn is still in the chat, so I want to. I expect to get some shade for this, but I have a friend in the channel who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got one of these that I'm not using," and I said, "Do you want to sell it to me?" And he said, "Yes," and so I bought it. So I have an EFG. Oh, Alley Cat, it's good to have you. That's great. I'm glad it's late there in the UK right now, isn't it? I'm glad you joined us. Anyway, so I know that I just bought the UDM Pro Max, and now I am the proud owner of an EFG. What is an Enterprise Fortress Gateway? It's a big boy. It's like 25 gig connectivity. It's Aragorn, yeah, we should have a conversation. Yeah, let's talk, dude. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Yeah, Levix. Now you're going hardcore Unify. At a certain point, you got to go, huh? Maybe I have bitten off more than I can chew here, right? But I will say, so I bought the $99 for my UDM Pro Max. I bought the $98 CyberSecure. They want $500 a unit a year. Needless to say, I won't be using the CyberSecure on this thing. Yeah, it's you can only do network app. Yeah, I am aware. So that's a good point. So, comparing this to the UDM Pro Max is a little different. This thing doesn't have the mirror hard drives for storage. This doesn't have. This is just firewall. It is all firewall. It's the same firewall as the UDM Pro Max, but that's only what they call the network application, and that's fine because I don't. I have really nice Reolink cameras that are set up, and they're in a separate VLAN. They're not ever going to talk to China. They're never going to. I'm not worried about them. They're separated. The quality of those is good, and I'm happy with that NVR and that experience. But I couldn't pass this up. So I guess what I want to say here, Jason's Lab, nice to have you. The one thing I wanted to say in here is it worth doing a comparison video? I'm actually seriously asking this, even though I'm kind of laughingly joking here, but is it worth doing a comparison video between this and the UDM Pro Max? Because the UDM Pro Max is $599. It's $600. This guy is $199.99, $2,000. There's a big price difference. And so, the short answer is most people don't even need the Pro Max for what they're doing unless they have a higher speed connection, which is why I bought it. And then this thing will let me get to up to 25 connectivity speed. I don't think it actually manage that, but it'll be interesting to see if this can handle my inner VLAN routing at higher speeds. I'm excited. So to talk about Unify Shill. Oh, Shadow, you know well as I do that is not the case. But when an opportunity comes along, you take it. This is what you do. You can't. I don't know what to say here. Shame on me, right? But anyway, so I'm thinking about doing some sort of comparison. Levix says yes. Well, I at least want to open it up and just make a little video about it because it's like the most expensive thing that they sell in the firewall category, right? So I'm dying to see what it's like on the inside. And yeah, that's that landed on my plate. And the last thing I know that Game Over Dave mentioned it in the chat earlier, but just want to say that I hate when I'm right. I hate when my information is right. I mean, I said in that video about the RAM a couple weeks back that like the prices are going up and up and up, and then someone, and I think it was one of our regulars in Discord, dropped a video about how it sounds like Samsung's thinking about exiting the consumer SSD market, at least for a time. Friends, get in close, make good close friends with your local like used, second tier storage and like hardware vendors, the people who take in enterprise stuff. Batten down the hatches. They came for a RAM and now they're coming for our storage. This as an aside, and I'm being intentionally vague. I mentioned in the video that the vendors had cut to 30 days. I've been told now the vendors are cutting to 15 days on quotes because the change is happening so much. And each time that 15 days elapses, they're seeing like a 20% increase in the cost of the hardware because of the cost of these components. So AI ate our lunch. Anyway, I did it again, didn't I? I left on a kind of a sad note. Yeah, Aragorn, thank you. If Rich is the shill, he's doing it wrong. He buys the gear. That's true. I should stop. I should. No. Shadow asked if my next is gonna be the 4K enterprise switch. If I can get a good deal on, no, I don't want that. I don't need that. I just. Will Homelab? Yeah. So Levix is asking sad questions. Will Homelab even be a future hobby? I don't think it's gonna go away. That's why, guys, I'm serious. I think what we need to do is build a solution. I need the finest and smartest engineers that are in this chat. I really think we need to build a solution that allows people to pool resources in the same way that you can do, the storage type of storage sharing sort of thing, and communally build a way to provide people access to hardware to do things. Yes, there's probably going to be some jerks that mess things up. Thankfully, in the United States, we have protections. But yeah, not a 3D said, is this some type of movement against home computing? Yeah, it does feel like it. I mean, we all know, just to be clear, like this is capitalism writ large. This is late stage capitalism. This is like, I can make more money selling here. I'm going to do that. I don't care about the downstream effects. That's what this is. It does feel, you can call it Seth. Thanks. Shadow. Thank you very much. This does kind of feel personal in a lot of ways, because when we talk about these companies, Micron leaving the consumer market, Samsung, the video that was in the Discord that I watched made it sound like this was at least for a time, a real deal. This was going to happen. It's going to get tight. Things are going to get tight. We're going to have to lean on each other. You have to land in the Discord and be in that communal, like, hey, do you need some RAM? Let me get you some RAM. Like, help a friend out. Help your fellow home labor out. That's where we're heading. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy out there. Anyway, Brand, you want to throw me on the main screen? I think that it's getting close to the hour. I just want to say one last thing. We have one of our Discord members. I've been saying Discord a lot, and Brandon tells me I shouldn't do that. Who just went in and got some surgery, and he's out of the hospital. So I just want to say I'm wishing him. He knows who he is. I'm not going to out him, but just wish him some speedy recovery. We care about all you guys. You're very important. The community is very important to all of us. And I think we can call it there. After the show here, in probably about 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how quickly I can get wrapped up here, we do the after show in the same Discord. Get to the Discord from the links, wherever the links are. They're up here, they're down here. I don't know where the links are. You know, this is YouTube. You guys can find this stuff. And that's where we'll be hanging out with a bunch of awesome people talking about whatever we want to talk about. Thank you guys. We will catch you, I think, next week. I'm not sure. We're getting close to the end of the year. And so there might be at a certain point, I want to take a little bit of a break. Just a little bit, maybe. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you very much likely next week. Have a great one. And I'm going to look over here and hit the end stream button. Thanks for watching, guys.